Good morning, self. Remember the beauty, remember the freedom that you are. Remember the simple emptiness. Remember that you have no wants or desires, that you are freedom. Remember who you are when you are not identified with the mind and the story. Remember the freedom that you are in truth. Remember the stillness of your nature that is just simply here, wanting nothing, needing nothing. Remember that you're not obsessed with doing the work and analyzing and narrating, right? You're not involved in a project, a self-improvement project to make a better me. Your freedom. Remember the freedom that you are. Remember the simplicity that you are in truth. That all there is to itself is just to be yourself. Do not be fooled by the mind's ideas that there's all this stuff that you have to take care of, that you have to heal your wounds. It's just another distraction. That is not who you are, self. You are not any of that. And you know this in truth. You know the being that you are. You know only yourself. Allow the attention to rest. Allow the attention to relax into the emptiness of your own nature. And as you relax into the emptiness of your own nature, you remember the simplicity. You remember the freedom. You remember the peace and the simple, contented happiness of just being yourself. You have no story. You have no fears, wants, or desires. And you know this. You know this in truth, because you have always been this simple being, this simple presence. You have never ever been anything other than your pure, innocent, immaculate self. And the invitation is just to remember and to be yourself, to be yourself, to be yourself, to be yourself in the face of whatever the play of life is bringing forward. Be yourself. Be in the remembering of who you are. Be in the remembering that you have never left yourself. You have never made a mistake. You have never done anything wrong. And you know this in truth. You know this in the deepest essence of your nature. If the attention identifies with the story, with things, can feel so believable and realistic, but it is not reality. Who you are is this simple being, knowing itself, just simply being itself. And you remember this. It is your essence nature, and you have never ever forgotten. Any play of longing is just the longing to remember yourself and to live as yourself in the light of your own wholeness. There has never ever been anything wrong with you. That is part of the story. If the attention wanders and identifies with anything, a thought, a story, an object, an experience, sense perception, if the attention identifies with anything, this is the illusion of separation. And the thinking around this is delusion. And delusion tells itself, right? Delusion is the mind speaking to itself. And the mind can take on the persona of the authority figure of the self. But it is not the self. The mind is never ever the self. Never be fooled by any voice that thinks it knows something. The one that thinks it knows is always the mind. The one that wants something, desires something, is always the mind. The one that has fears or ideas or concepts is the mind. The one that thinks there is this work to do is the mind. When we speak of the work, it is the true unraveling of consciousness. It is never a project for the mind. But the mind will always, always be in an egotistical pattern, an egocentric pattern, attempting to fuel itself. The mind can be in an egocentric pattern, attempting to fuel its deepest belief that there is something wrong with me. It's a painful pattern because it feels like a trap, and it is a trap. It is the mind telling itself, there is something wrong with me, and as there is something wrong with me, I have to play out these conditioned patterns. But all of that is the unconscious. This is not who you are in truth. Remember who you are in truth. You have to remember who you are in truth. If you are playing out, identified with anything, then you are not in the fullness and the light of your full glory. But at the same time, you are the fullness and glory of yourself. And it is just to remember and live this fullness, to live this glory. Remember the peace and the simplicity. Remember the silence. Remember the beauty, the freedom of who you are. Remember this presence where the only knowing here is of your own presence. The felt sense of simply being here. Just being here, just as yourself. And you are aware of all that is moving and changing. You're aware of the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, the story, the roles, the drama, the conditioning. You're aware of it all. You're also aware that there's much hidden away in the unconscious. But you know that you are none of that. You are none of that. And you can be here now in the freedom of your true nature without doing anything. Let's say when we speak of the work of revealing the unconscious and bringing it forward, loving it, bringing gratitude and presence to it, this is not a project for the mind. This is not an activity. It's the illumination of the naturalness of how the being meets itself in and as everything, right? So just wanting to bring awareness, the awareness that you are, to how the mind can take hold of anything that is spoken and conceptualize it. The mind can take hold and create concepts out of everything that is spoken. But everything that is spoken is not for the mind. Everything that is spoken is just a resonant transmission of the self speaking to itself. Listen as yourself and be the freedom that you are. Do not conceptualize. Do not create ideas and teachings and instructions out of these words. Receive the resonance in the immediacy of now. Receive the resonance. Receive the words. Receive it all in the immediacy of now. Do not carry it into the future. Do not create something out of nothing. Let it remain as nothing. Let it remain as emptiness. Let it remain as a resonant transmission of silence. Of course, the mind cannot understand, and the mind will follow these words. It's okay. It gives it something to think about, something closer to truth to think about. But this is not the purpose of this sharing. The purpose of this sharing is to say, good morning, self. Good morning. Remember who you are without a story. Remember who you are when you are resting deeply as yourself. Remember the freedom and the beauty. Remember the naturalness and how just naturally as yourself you are openly receiving the play of life. Remember the simplicity of just being openness, that you are openness, and as openness you receive everything that is playing. You are naturally open and grateful and loving, whatever it is that comes forward. It is your nature, and you are naturally grateful and loving and present and kind and patient. This is your true nature. You do not have to cultivate it or create a mood out of it. Be even more simple than that. Just to be the love, to be the kindness, to be the simple, compassionate patience that you are in truth. Just to be yourself. Just to be yourself. Let there be a relaxation as these words come. Let there be a resting, an exhale, a really deep, deep exhale. And as the exhalation comes, let the exhalation be the relaxation into yourself. The relaxation away from being zoomed right in to the details where you lose perspective, right? So zoomed in, right, on the details, zoomed right in, blinkers are on, true perspective is lost. Exhale, blinkers off, fall back, big picture, zoomed out. Who are you? Yes, here's the truth. You are the vast open spaciousness, the infinite eternal being. You are freedom. You are stillness. You are beauty. You are innocence. You are not the person that you have believed yourself to be. And there is absolutely no need to be zoomed right in, tangled up and rolling around in the mess that the mind creates. No reason at all. No reason at all. Any voice that tells you that you have to do this work, that you've got to work it all out, it's just another distraction. It's just another attempt of the mind to keep itself alive. The work, the true work is natural. The true work is effortless. The true work is the natural unraveling of consciousness into itself. And yes, that includes the unraveling of the deep, dark, hidden unconscious into the light of consciousness, into the embrace of love, unconditional love, right? But if you are not resting in the true perspective, if you are not resting in the vast openness, then you cannot receive all of yourself, right? If you're trying to do the work zoomed in, you're not resting in the unconditional nature, right? Can only do the work and receive when you are resting in the vastness. Being yourself is freedom. Being yourself is the spacious, infinite, timeless now. If you are trying to do the work from a close up, zoomed in perspective, then it will feel like it's not working. And the mind will get itself in even more of a pickle, saying, well, this isn't even working. I'm sitting with it, I'm being with it, and it's not even working, right? The mind, it's a denial mechanism, and it's in a constant attempt to deny anything other than its separate, limited nature, right? So if the mind is in conversation with the mind, it is constantly confirming, you are right, you are right. Hold your position, hold your position. You are right, you've got it, you're right, stay right here, and we are safe. We're miserable, we're pretty miserable, we're constantly disappointed, but you're right. What are you confirming, right? In your rightness, you're deeply confirming the belief in separation. You're deeply confirming that there's something wrong, there's something not enough, not lovable. You're deeply confirming, I was right all along. I am bad. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I make mistakes. I get it wrong. I'm constantly disappointed. I fail at everything, right? The mind chatting to itself, constantly confirming itself. You see, you are right. You are bad. You are wrong. You are not worthy. You are unlovable. You're never going to get this because guess what? You're just missing the vital component that it takes. You're the only one in the whole world that's never ever going to wake up to your own nature. You might as well just give it up and just live this life. Just try to make the best of it. Just be a good person, right? Let's just be a good person. Let's just be a good person. Let's be happy just being a good person. Let's let that be enough, right? Okay, we got that sorted. We don't have to worry about anything about true nature. Just be a good person. Just go and buy some good new things, have a new experience, right? Let's just be done with all of that that feels hard. So here's the mind chatting to itself, constantly trying to find a way of confirming its deep, innate belief that it's not enough. Here's the truth. That mind, it's not enough. Let's make it right. Let's give it the honest truth. Mind, you are not enough because you are lacking the vital component. You are lacking the knowledge of your true nature, right? That's what you are lacking, mind. But you know, the incredible grace is, mind, that right here now, you also are the true nature. You are lacking. You feel to be lacking. But at the same time, where do you come from, mind? Where do you come from? Find out where you come from, mind, and find the great parent that is the true self. Find out where you come from. Zoom out. Zoom out. Yes, you're going to feel like all you find is nothing. And you're going to say to yourself, you see, I'm zoomed out. There's nothing here. I'm going back in and I'm just going to have a good day. I'm just going to do whatever it takes to have a happy day, right? Zoom out. Zoom out. What you find here is nothing. What you find here is emptiness. But if you linger here, what you can discover is that this emptiness is your true nature. This is the true nature of mind. The true nature of mind is heart. The true nature of mind is unlimited awareness. The true nature of mind is God. Well, that kind of improves your day, mind, doesn't it? Right? The true nature of mind is the self. So let's stop the small conversation. Let's stop the small conversation, not by creating another project. Okay, says mind, we've got to stop the small conversation. How are we going to stop the small conversation? You can't. The mind, it's chatty. It's chatty by nature. It's constantly rabbiting on. It's always got something to say. It thinks it knows. It doesn't stop. It's going to keep on talking to itself and trying to convince itself that it knows something. It's trying to find a way of convincing itself that it is good and right and whole. It's trying to find its purity, but it's trying to find its truth and wholeness in things. So it says, let's have another experience. Let's get involved in the project of this work, of analyzing, of narrating. Let's get involved in the story, right? But the true nature of mind is heart. The true nature of mind is the self. The true nature of mind is love. The only way we can stop the conversation is to watch it, be aware of it. The constant conversation, the chattiness of the mind, is its constant attempt to keep itself alive. It's protection. It's protecting itself by constantly talking to itself, giving itself a narrative, giving itself a commentary. What is it afraid of? What is it protecting itself from? It's protecting itself from not being in control. It's protecting itself from not knowing. It's trying to be the knower. It's trying to know it all. To protect itself from feeling the free-falling vastness. To protect itself from feeling its own emptiness. It's filling the space, filling the space, filling the space. Because that is what has been learned. It has been learned and conditioned to keep filling the space, to keep chatting, to keep convincing, to keep trying to find another strategy. So we have to come to recognize that all strategies are heading in one direction, and that is to feed and nourish the illusion of separation. The mental chitty chat is delusion. The mental chitty chat is what happens when the attention is resting on objects instead of the emptiness. So, let us just be aware of the conversation. Watch it. Be aware. That which is aware is not judging. It's pure love. It has such compassion because it knows how all of this works. What is watching is not touched. It's not fazed. It's got nothing to prove. What is watching just is. And just to confirm in your direct experience that there is a part of you that is just watching. And that part of you that is watching has no story, has no agenda, has no wants, has no concepts and ideas. It's just simple and empty. This part of you is freedom. And this part of you is the vast infinite truth of who you are. This part of you is the part that is felt to be missing. So when mind meets its true nature as heart, it finds what has felt to be missing. And let's say mind finds its wholeness. Mind that is like a protective mechanism finds what it truly longs for, finds what it belongs to, and in that does not need to protect. The protection comes from feeling abandoned, rejected, alone, separated from God, from truth, from self, right? The protection comes because it has been learned, I am separate and I am alone and I have to protect myself and I have to defend my position. But it has never ever been true. And when you zoom out, you find out, oh, it's never been true. It's been a misunderstanding all along. I never have been that separate one, that person. I've always been the infinite, unbounded openness. I've always been the presence of now. So you meet in this gorgeous union, a remembering of your true self. You remember who you are. You remember who you are. And you recognize in that you never have been limited. You never have been the separate, individual, alone one that needs to protect. That the protection can drop when you recognize you are one with yourself. That mind falls into the remembering of heart, and in heart you know yourself. In heart, you are openness. You never close. In heart, you are the self. You are the being. You are the openness. You are the love. And you have always been this. The habit has been to identify at the point of the mind-body. If you are identified at the mind-body, then the small view, the limited view, is where you are working from. And it will always feel lacking, because it is lacking. It's lacking the knowledge of its wholeness. But simultaneously, that is happening in wholeness. It is just to zoom out, right? This great exhale. And as the exhalation comes, zooming out, falling back, seeing as awareness, discovering the source of it all, the source of everything. When you zoom out to discover the source of everything, amazing miracle, you are still here. You are zoomed out. Here is the emptiness. Here is the source. Where does everything come from? Here. But there's nothing here. Exactly. Nothing here but your own presence. Nothing here but yourself. Nothing here but you, the I am presence. Nothing here but who you are without your story. Nothing here but life itself. Nothing here but love. Nothing here but contentedness, simplicity, innocence. Nothing here but the naturalness of being. And this is who you are, self. Remember who you are. Remember who you are in the vast, zoomed out perspective. As soon as you remember, you will never forget. There will be foggy weather patterns that will come in, but you will never forget this deepest knowing of who you are. And then the naturalness, then the ability to keep receiving life, knowing that life is just happening. Every time that something in the play comes forward that brings up the feeling of a need to strategize, to protect, it's an opportunity. It's not an opportunity for the mind to reactivate and to create a project and to move back into the self-improvement project. It's an opportunity to see it with the lights on, with the light of awareness shining upon it. It's an opportunity to see that you, in truth, are not trapped, bound, or limited by whatever is happening. That the play of life is just playing itself out. You're not choosing it, you're not in a position where you can do anything about it, but watch it. Your vigilance, your commitment is to watch it. Let it play out and watch it. Let it all play out and just watch it. The hardest thing is to just watch it and not meddle in it, not get tangled in, right? Such a habit. Ooh, can't just sit here watching it. Surely I've got to do something about this. So then the thinking starts, how to fix it. Or the emotions, the pain body gets activated and there's all this emotion It's just to be aware of it. See how the distraction is to meddle in it, to get involved with trying to be the one that can make it different. You can make it different. You can only make it different when you are resting as the self. You can only make a difference when you are resting in true nature. You cannot make a difference if you are dancing around in a limited perspective. You cannot make it different if you are cycling around, circling around. You cannot make it different. The mind, the me, believes I can make it different, I can fix it, this time it's going to be different, I can work it out. At some point we come to recognize there's nothing to be done here. Just to be with the inner landscape is all that can happen. Can be with the feelings, can be with what you are noticing inside, can be with yourself, and that is all. Can be the aware witness of it all, just simply watching it. In truth, you never are anything other. You are only ever the aware knowing of everything. The idea that you are the character on the screen and you are involved in the story is part of the illusion. And everything is conspiring to be able to see through that illusion. You are not the movie. You're not the story. You are the screen on which it is happening. In fact, you are the light that illuminates the screen in truth. Let's say the light and the screen together creates wholeness, is wholeness. The mind thinks it is the person, the character in the story. The mind thinks that it can strategize and do and make a difference. But that is the delusion. That is the delusion. It is only ever about being. And if you are not resting in being, all attempts to do the work, let's say, will be limited, will be as limited as the perspective. You have to be resting as yourself. You have to be resting as the unconditional loving presence that is ever open. You have to be resting as wide open heart to truly, unconditionally receive life, right? If you're receiving life from a conditioned perspective, then karma will play. Limitation will meet limitation, and there'll be a ping pong match or a sparring match, right? Depending. But there'll be some kind of backwards and forwards, and that backwards and forwards is known as cause and effect. And cause and effect is happening when karma is playing. It is the cycle of sorrow. It is the cycle of karma, cause and effect. This happens, and that's the result. But when we are zoomed out, we are outside, we are zoomed out of the play of karma. We can see life living itself out. But when we are zoomed out and resting as the being, we are free of karma. The being has no karma. Check for yourself. The being has no obligations. The being just is the vast open space in which the whole play is unraveling. The great delusion is the story of the mind that I have to fix this play. The great delusion is believing that you are the character and that somehow that your movements in the play, the me, the mind, makes itself the hero or the heroine of the story. If I do not conquer this, then everything is going to fall apart. The world needs me to make this game of life successful, right? Everyone is the star of their own show. Everyone is the star of their own show. But it is just to see that it is a show. Do not be deluded. Take the deep exhalation and come off stage. Exit stage right into the green room. And as you enter into the green room is the room that the actors go into before they go on and off stage to kind of get ready to decompress or psych themselves up, right? So you come into the green room, decompress in the presence of now, the timelessness, and then enter into true life, the flow, the freedom, the grace, the spaciousness, the love, the unconditional nature. You are not confined by the script. You're not confined by any script. You are an unscripted, unedited, unfiltered flow of freedom in truth, right? Everything on the surface might play out. You will continue to play that character as long as that body has life force moving through it. But you are the life force. You are the eternal life force. At the moment, as life, in its fullness, as life, you're animating all forms. You can feel how you are animating all forms, but you can particularly feel the human experience that is your assignment. It's your assignment, is to live out the human experience. So you continue to be the life force that's animating the character and be able to have the direct experience of the character. But the zoomed out perspective brings the wisdom, intelligence, the knowing that who you are is not the character. You're not limited to the character. The deeper this knowing, even when a foggy patch of Maya comes in, and it's so convincing, the divine does this very, very well. The divine puts on a very, very real show, right? It's a multi-sensory, multi-dimensional show. It's very, very believable. When you are thick in the Maya, you're playing your character and you're absolutely engrossed. You're on the world stage and you're absolutely playing it with all of your heart. But never ever forget that you are just on stage. You are just on stage. Never ever forget. This is your freedom, is to know that you're not the character. Even when the play is in full swing, right? You're always freedom. You're always the life, the light that's animating the show. Watch the movie. Watch the movie. Watch how fully you play the character. Watch how the character changes the more that you're resting in true nature. Watch how the kindness and the patience and the love that you are starts to animate the character. Watch. Be fascinated. Be fascinated. How what feels like the character, what feels like the being, and what feels like God, let's say, it seems like all of these parts. But all of these seeming parts are in the process of merging into a remembering, because all of these seeming parts are the divine, all of it. Nothing is not the divine. And the process of awakening is waking up out of the sleepy dream of identifying with the show. And as you wake up out of the sleepy dream, You see the illusion of separation. First step back, witnessing, oh my God, I'm not the character. It's a play, it's a movie. I can see it, I can witness it. And here I can see, as awareness, with full illumination, that that character is not the entirety of what I am. That is not who I am. Confirm it in your direct experience. You confirm it. Once this is confirmed, the deepening of this confirmation, it comes through being tested. Now you are resting in your knowing, the knowing of who you are, the knowing of who you are. And now in comes the next fog, in comes the next story. You're going to identify, who are you now? Who are you now? I feel like I'm the character. I'm in the play. But the knowing says, all I know is the knowing of who I am. I am only seeing the play. I am only seeing the play of experience by the light of my awareness, by the light of my knowing. All I know still is only my own presence, right? Whatever's playing, you never know anything apart from your own presence. So it's going to continue to play out in order to refine and to unite everything in your direct experience. It's going to refine and mature and deepen. And you have to remember who you are, because sometimes the Maya is thick. Sometimes in the play of time, you will get lost for periods of time. And when you come back to remembering, you're gonna feel, how did I forget? And when you're in clarity, I will never forget again. It's so clear. It's so clear. But the Maya will come in. And that's why it's always about resting here and watching. If you're watching, you cannot be fooled. Even when you're being played, when everything is happening on the surface. Of course, if it's a lovely dream, if it's a lovely movie scene, we're all about being the character and falling all the way in. But you know, that's where we get trapped. We get trapped because we think, ooh, I like this storyline. And the ego kicks up. It loves a good romance, right? It loves a good tasty meal, right? So it falls in, it gets hooked in, because the hook comes and says, maybe this time, right? The mind pops up like a little puppet. Maybe this time, you're going to find your wholeness in the dream. Maybe this time, you're going to find your wholeness in the dream. And you know, when your wholeness is complete all the way through, then your knowing of your own wholeness is the reflection that you're getting. But you're never going to find your wholeness in the dream where there's any sense of separation. You can only find your own wholeness in your own wholeness. Mind can only find wholeness in heart. The discordant patterns of consciousness or the unconscious can only find its wholeness in consciousness, in pure consciousness. That which seems to be shadow or dark can only find its wholeness in light, right? Everything has to find its true nature. You cannot find the true nature in the limited. You cannot find it in things. This is so important to feel the resonance of this. Don't try to understand it with the mind, because the mind will make a mental note and act like it's on board. Okay, I've got it. We cannot find it. And the next move that the mind makes will be to try to find its wholeness in things. Have to feel the resonance. You have to feel where you can feel this as truth. Where you can feel it as truth is where you shine the light on the play and the constant misery and disappointment. Can only find wholeness in wholeness. And the deeper the knowing of the wholeness, then the reflection will be of that. And let us say that then the ripples of your own wholeness change the reflection. Relationships change. What doesn't serve, what's not needed anymore, falls away. You start to create reflections of relationships that are reflecting your wholeness. You're meeting in the being. You're meeting yourself through the play of relationship more and more deeply. The ones that are the more challenging are always the ones that are the closest, the family, right? The closest, the longest term ones, or the primary karmic relationships, right? These ones are the ones that are the most challenging. But the wholeness can only ever be found in yourself. You can never, even in the most profound relationship, you will never find wholeness in identifying with another. That's the story of separation. You will only find wholeness when you are in your wholeness, and let's say another being is in their wholeness, and your meeting is in that unspeakable love. That's the celebration, and that's the possibility of a human life, right? That we can meet in the glory, in the love, without leaving, without playing out old patterns, without playing out. But often there will be karmic layers that have to be seen through before we see clearly. Clear seeing only happens in the being. The mind never sees clearly. Impossible. Clear seeing is the being. Clear seeing is the self, seeing itself, resting in itself, zoomed out, big picture, full perspective, resting in the knowing. Clear seeing sees the whole picture, the whole show, and the direct experience that's ever deepening is gathering the pieces of wholeness into the remembering of divinity all the way through. This belongs, this belongs, this belongs, right? But you're not gathering pieces of someone else. You can't do someone else's work for them. You can't take on someone else's project, soul journey, right? That can be such a massive distraction that you're constantly trying to merge into someone else's picture, and you're imagining that you have to do this work together. You have to only do the work inside, and then the reflection changes, right? If you have connections and relationships where both beings are doing the work, very, very precious, very, very precious. But they'll still have challenges, right? They'll still have challenges, but they are an amazing vehicle, an amazing vehicle. The key is that if you do not need anything from the relationship, if you do not need anything from the world, if you need something from someone, you're in separation. If you need something, if you're trying to nourish yourself, if ego patterns are playing out and you're getting nourished by trying to be seen, trying to be validated, needing to be loved, if you need anything from anyone, even me, right? If you need something from me, you'll be disappointed. Can only meet in love. Only can meet in love, in the truth, right? If we have need in the world, it will always bring disappointment. Always. We can only come into the wholeness inside the being, inside the self. And then the meeting is from the wholeness, right? That you're not leaving yourself. Then you can enter into any relationship because you're not leaving yourself, right? But we will go through many, many layers of shedding. And that's part of the refinement. It's part of the refinement. But you see, anything that's being projected out, anything that you need, whether it's in a relationship or whether it's things or experiences or safety or comfort, anything that you need, it's an unconscious piece of yourself that you haven't brought home to yourself. So wherever you feel like there's something missing or there's a need, it's always to explore. If I think I need that, what am I nourishing? Why do I think I need that? Why do I need someone? What am I getting from it? Why do I want to eat that food, right? Those snacks. Could be that. Why do I need to buy those new things? Why do I need more tools or shoes or whatever's your thing for the character, right? Before you move towards it, you know your habits, you know the habits. What is it? And it's not about saying that we don't reach out in companionship and connection. It's not about that. But it's just to notice, to have that ability to discern where are the patterns that are nourishing a need, a desire. Where am I trying to get validated? And often those places won't be the places of flow and ease. They'll be the places where it feels clunky. Why am I constantly moving into a situation that feels clunky and uncomfortable and disappointing? What part of me am I not willing to love that I'm trying to find in someone else, right? Or you're blaming someone else, or you're feeling dissatisfied or disappointed with someone. You're finding someone to be lacking, you're projecting. All of these ways, there's so many subtleties. But wherever that story starts to come, it's to find out, what's underneath there? What is underneath there that I am having these thoughts about that person? What's underneath? What's happening? Why do I need that? Why am I craving that, right? Why am I craving? Why am I craving that? What am I trying to fill? And can you fill it through zooming out and meeting a part of yourself that has been exiled and hidden away? Can you zoom out and invite that part of you that you're trying to fulfill in things into the light? So as these words come, of course, it's always just to receive the resonance. But there's also the ability just to shine the light. You'll recognize areas that have bring a particular stirring or a particular poke, or bring a bit of a sting or an insight or a seeing, right? The human experience is a play of consciousness. It's a play, it's a show. And the dynamics that are playing are always the same. As we come to watch the dynamics and we come to directly experience and transmute through our experience And let us say it's our service to transmute through experience. It's what we're here for, to have the challenging experiences and transmute and transmute. But as we move through this, we come to illuminate the dynamics. We illuminate the field of intelligence. We illuminate it and we see what's going on. And when we see what's going on, we cannot be fooled by it. We're not studying it as psychology. We're not studying it with the mind. That's limited. It has wisdom as part of it, of course. There's wisdom as part of it. But it's limited. We have to just watch it and illuminate the field of intelligence, the true wisdom, the true knowledge. It's illuminating consciousness and how it works. Once you see through the dynamics, you see through the illusion. You cannot be fooled by it anymore. Essentially, what we are coming to is a depth of knowing of our own goodness. To know your own goodness is to know divinity. When you know your own goodness, you know divinity, you know God, and you know that what you are is not separate from God, and nor is anything else separate, that there's only one. Then you cannot find anything wrong in anything. And this is what is in process, right? The deep story is there's something wrong with me. That's the story of separation. We can have seen through the illusion. We can know this truth, but we can still be pulled in by a deeper, deeper, deeper held belief. Everything is conspiring to free this deeply held belief. We free this deeply held belief by loving, naturally loving, and having open presence with everything that arises. So, here's the grace. Your heart right now is sharing the secrets of all of the dynamics with you. You will only receive what you are ready to hear. But right now, it's all laid out. It's right here on the surface. Your knowing, your heart is laying it all right out here, the totality, all of the dynamics, how it works, the whole field of intelligence completely illuminated, your wholeness, your wisdom, your intelligence, the self that you are. It's right here illuminated. Right now in this moment, you are utterly free. In this moment, utterly free, and everything is laid out. The habit will be to limit this moment. And it will be limited, let's say the limited and the freedom will be according to where you are living. But you have the possibility to drop it all, to drop all limitation and fall into yourself through the resonance, the recognition, this moment. We're not speaking about what happens an hour from now. We're speaking about this moment, this moment. Be free, be yourself. Remember, good morning, self. You just woke up to yourself. Good morning, welcome. It's the dawn. It's the dawn of remembering. Good morning. All that is shining here is the eternal sunshine of the infinite heart that you are. Every moment is this fresh moment to be awake to yourself, to be illuminated in your own presence, to shine this light, to be the living, shining emanation of this light, this moment, this moment. Remember self, the freedom that you are. Remember the beauty. Remember the love without bounds or conditions. Remember the incredible grace. Remember the being. Remember this is all there is this boundless presence, this divine light shining, this innocence, this immaculate freedom. Remember, in this moment, nothing to know. Do not move a fraction. Do not move a fraction. Just be here. Be here in the constant dawn, the constant shining sun of your own knowing. Feel the illumination. Feel the illumination of being love, of being contented happiness, of being your blissful self, being your blissful self. Good morning, self. Remember the freedom. Remember the peace. Remember the innocence, the beauty, the love that you are. Remember the naturalness of just being here. Remember. Remember the wholeness of the wide open heart that lacks nothing. Remember the fullness, the richness of the wide open, infinite heart that is the self that you have always been. Remember this light shining ever present, the divine reality, the truth, the shining truth that is the pure knowledge of the self, illuminated in its own knowing. Remember the Om of the self bowing to itself. Remember the Jai of the great celebration of knowing yourself. Remember the fullness, the wholeness, the wide open heart that is not missing or lacking anything. Remember, mind, this heart, that you are in truth and that you do not ever need to separate, that you can live this wide open heart right on the surface of life. Live this fullness, live this wholeness, this naturalness, this simplicity of just being yourself. Mm. Mm. Mm.